This show is sponsored in part by St. Germain Catering, a woman-owned business that is professional in every delicious detail. And Fairfax Social Sports, Northern Virginia's largest co-ed men's and women's adult sports league, with over 32,000 players who participate in flag football, softball, basketball, and other adult sports. And finally, the Ruddy Law Firm in Fairfax City, Virginia, a law firm that provides legal services in the fields of business, probate, estate planning, and elder law. Welcome to the Probate Nation. My name is Richard Ruddy, and I am the host of the program, How to Probate an Estate. Probate is a process to transfer the title or ownership of probate assets to the beneficiaries of a deceased person. Not all assets are probate assets, and there are different types of probates, some simple, others more complicated. Like a journey on a slow-moving steam engine, probate has a beginning, several stops along the way, and at the end of the trip, the balance of the probate assets are delivered to the decedent's beneficiaries. Some probate train rides are short, while other probates seem to never end. Our program today introduces you to the Arlington County Commissioner of Accounts, who oversees the probate of Arlington County estates. The Commissioner has oversight of and must approve many of your decisions in probate, from what you propose to pay or have already paid, to what you distribute to each beneficiary of the Arlington County estate being probated. This program will identify steps to take and pitfalls to avoid, so you receive the necessary approval of the Commissioner so you can continue on your probate journey. With us today is the Arlington County Commissioner of Accounts, who was appointed by the Arlington County Circuit Court in 1989 to oversee all estates being probated in Arlington County and the city of Falls Church. He also maintains a private law practice as an estate and trust attorney with the Arlington County law firm of Manning & Murray, and is an elected member of the American College of Trust and Estates Council. Please welcome Arlington County Commissioner of Accounts, Bill Murray. Bill, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
You're welcome.
You know, the whole process of probate in Virginia is kind of unique. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works in Virginia?
Well, Virginia is unique, you're right. Every other state in the Union has a probate court and probate judges, but in Virginia we have a Commissioner of Accounts system. And we've had this system from before the Civil War. It's a good system in my opinion. It's very user-friendly. People are not required to employ attorneys to go through the system, as is often the case in other states. But as you said, Richard, the Commissioner of Accounts is appointed by the Circuit Court, and my office oversees fiduciaries. Fiduciaries such as executors, administrators, trustees, guardians, and conservators. Executors are persons named under a will. Administrators are people that are named where there is no will. Together, executors and administrators are termed personal representatives.
Okay. Well, it sounds like the Commissioner of Accounts Office has an quite a wide level of responsibility. So tell us about the volume of cases that you're handling in Arlington County, and how are you currently staffed to take care of that?
Okay. At any one time, we're probably overseeing 800 to 1,000 cases. I have 2 full-time staff persons and 2 part-time staff persons. They're very busy. We see a lot of fiduciaries who come in to meet with us. We see a lot of beneficiaries who come in to ask about estates.
Well, it sounds like you're very busy. You know, is there any sort of information or materials that you offer personal representatives to read and help guide them through this process?
Yes, we thought it would be very valuable if we provided instruction booklets to fiduciaries. So myself and my office, we have written instruction booklets for personal representatives, for trustees, for guardians, for conservators. And those instruction booklets are handed out to the personal representatives when they qualify at the clerk's office.
Very good. Now on the screen we're going to show you we have a copy of that particular booklet. I believe this is the one here, called Instructions to Executors and Administrators. We're also showing you on the screen the index of that particular book, which goes into detail about all the typical things that you need to do as an executor or an administrator. This booklet will also be available and posted on the Probate Nation website if you want to download it. So after someone qualifies to probate, what are some of the very first steps they need to take in order to get their estate rolling?
Well, we hope that the first step they will take is to read the instruction booklet, because we think it's very straightforward, fairly simple, although administering an estate can be complex. But we've attempted to make it very readable and very informative. That's the first thing I would like any personal representative to do. The second would be you want to get a tax ID number from the IRS. And once you have a tax ID number, then you can open a bank account in the name of the estate. And you can take the decedent's brokerage account and transfer it into a brokerage account in the name of the estate when you have a tax ID number for the estate. So it's very important that you run all of your transactions through an estate checking account, that you make sure when you open that at a bank that the bank agrees to return canceled checks to you, because the personal representative will need to present those canceled checks to the Commissioner of Accounts to approve various disbursements and distributions.
Well, that leads us into our next topic, which the critically important role of the Commissioner's Office is to oversee and audit the accountings and inventories that the executor submits. Tell us a little bit about those types of filings and how those are dealt with by your office.
All right. When the personal representative qualifies with the clerk, he or she will be given forms, an inventory form and an accounting forms. These are forms that are developed and printed by the Virginia Supreme Court, so they're standard across Virginia. An inventory, which is, as you would expect, it's a list of the assets that the decedent owned at the time he or she died. That's due within 4 months of the qualification of the personal representative. Accountings then are due every 12 months. So the first account is for the first 12 months of qualification. It's due 4 months after that period ends, but basically every 12 months an accounting is required.
So what happens if, in the case of the inventory, which is the initial filing that your office needs to see what the opening entries are for the estate,
Correct.
What happens if it's not timely filed?
Well, let me start by saying, Richard, we take great pride in providing good service to the community, to these personal representatives. We want to work with the personal representatives. The inventory is due 4 months after qualification. We hope that personal representatives don't wait until that 4 months is up before they start thinking about filing it.
Sure.
But when they do, and we get a call from a personal representative, we will say, all right, we'll give you an additional 30 days or an additional 60 days. We really like to work with the personal representatives. We feel that we're in it together. It's the job of the personal representative and the Commissioner of Accounts office to properly administer estates. And we want personal representatives to take advantage of our willingness to be involved, and hope they will. But if we don't get a phone call and if we don't get an inventory, then we file what we call a late letter. We send it to the personal representative and say you've got 30 days more to file it. If they don't file it within those 30 days, then unfortunately we have to get the court involved, which is not what I want to do. It's not what the personal representative wants to happen.
Sure.
So we really encourage people, when they're not going to meet the deadline. People sometimes have family issues that prevent them from missing deadlines or other complexities of the estate. Please call the Commissioner of Accounts office. We're very understanding. We're happy to give extensions. We just want to hear from you.
Sure. Communication is key.
It is the key.
Staying in touch. And
it is the key. And let me say one other thing, Richard. What my staff can't stand is when they call a personal representative or write a letter to a personal representative and we don't hear back. Because we're trying to help, and when people won't help us help them, that's a real problem.
It's a challenge. It certainly is. Now, Based on your years of experience, because you've been doing this for a number of years now, do you have any particular tips you want to share about how to file an estate account?
Well, you want to file it on time. That's the most important thing. You want to file it on time, and then you have to have your supporting documentation. And by that we mean basically for every disbursement that you've made, and a disbursement is when you pay a debt or an expense, or a distribution when you give money to a beneficiary. For every disbursement or distribution, you must have a canceled check that proves you in fact made that disbursement or distribution. In addition to that, you have to prove what we call assets on hand. So the ending day of your accounting period, and you say we have $100,000 left to administer, we need to see proof by way of a bank statement or a brokerage statement.
Sure. Well, basically you need to audit, you trust but verify. So.
Trust but verify, well said.
How about, obviously the ultimate end of a probate is to deliver the assets to the beneficiaries at the end of what we call the probate journey. How about some tips for the beneficiaries of an estate? What would you tell them? Most important tip I would give any beneficiary is be patient. It's amazing to me how beneficiaries think estate administration is very easy. Person died 30 days ago, why haven't I gotten my money? Things have to be done, debts have to be paid, taxes have to be paid, tax returns have to be filed, a variety of things. Beneficiaries need to stay patient. They also need to, because Virginia law allows them this right, they need to write a letter to the personal representative and say, whenever you file an inventory or an account with the Commissioner of Accounts, I want you to send me a copy. And the personal representative must do that. Then, if you're the beneficiary, you're getting copies of these documents, you have the right to look at them. And if you have questions or think something's wrong, then you call the Commissioner of Accounts office, and the Commissioner of Accounts office will take a look at it and attempt to resolve your question, or it may be something that we need to go to the personal representative with and say, beneficiary is saying this, we need to hear from you. Okay, very good. Well, you mentioned creditors. I think one of the really important roles that your office does undertake is, of course, to protect the creditors of the estate. Can you talk about how you do that, or how that's done? That's exactly right, Richard. Besides protecting the beneficiaries, we protect creditors of the estate. If a creditor has not been paid by the personal representative, they have the right to file a claim with the Commissioner of Accounts office in writing. Once we get that claim, we send it on to the personal representative. And we tell the personal representative either pay the claim, or if you dispute it, then the Commissioner of Accounts will hold a hearing with the personal representative and the creditor to determine the validity of the claim. We also mark our file. We will not allow a personal representative to close an estate until all claims have been resolved. Either we've had a hearing and I've denied it, or it's been paid, or it's been settled between the personal representative and the creditor. So that's really a great service to the business community. Yes. Of course. Now, some estates may have more debts than they have assets, what we refer to as the insolvent estate. This can be a very difficult situation to deal with. Talk a little bit about insolvent estates and how you approach that in your office. Well, I would just say, as a practitioner who is executor from time to time and represents people who are executors in my private practice, I know that insolvent estates are the most difficult estates there are to deal with. They are very difficult. Insolvency means there's more debts, expenses, allowances than there are assets in the probate estate. Virginia Code has a priority list of when you don't have enough to pay everybody, what's the priority of payment. Okay. Sometimes you get down to where you have to prorate amongst creditors. It can be very difficult, particularly when there's not a lot of money in the probate estate to pay for it, legal help to assist the personal representative with this. Also, you have to be very careful as a personal representative. If you ever sense that you have an insolvent estate, stop paying anybody. Because the worst thing that can happen to a personal representative is you pay somebody early, you find it's an insolvent estate, you find out you've overpaid somebody because they weren't high enough up on the priority chain, and the personal representative must try and get that money back from that creditor. And that's quite difficult. Yes, that's more than quite difficult. Yes. The process by which the estates are administered in Arlington County Commissioner of Accounts office, I know that you folks make an extra special effort, as I can tell from your comments during the course of our talk today, to try to help people. Would you elaborate a little more about that? Because it sounds like you are there to help not only the personal representative, you're there to help the creditors, the beneficiaries. Tell me about the way you folks help people, whether it's in phone, emails, things like that.
Yes.
Please elaborate on that.
First of all, we help people by giving them an instruction booklet, which again, we hope they'll read because they'll get a lot out of it. It'll be a big help to them. But we are open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. Okay? Our office, my staff welcomes phone calls. They like to hear from people. They like to help. They like to assist. If people want to come in and sit down with us, we prefer that they make an appointment, just so that when they show up, they won't have to wait. But we take plenty of walk-in business. That's fine, just as long as people understand if you walk in, you might have to wait a little bit if the staff's meeting with people that had scheduled appointments. That rarely happens, though. We're usually able to deal with walk-in business very easily.
Okay. It sounds, though, as we've had this conversation, today, that the administration of an estate is very complicated. Okay, your booklet tries to simplify it and does a wonderful job, but obviously there's a lot of work going into reduce that to very simple terms. Tell me, does a fiduciary need to hire somebody, a lawyer or a CPA or someone else to help them work through this at some point in the process?
All right. Well, Richard, let's separate lawyers and accountants. Okay. The personal representative has the obligation to file the final income tax returns for the decedent. Okay? So, for example, if someone passed away in March of 2015, not only does the personal representative need to make sure that the decedent already filed their 2014 income tax return, then they're going to have to file their final income tax return for 2015. The personal representative should also make sure that the decedent filed his 2013 income tax return or his 2012 income tax return. It's very important to verify that. It's also important not to miss a due date on an income tax return because IRS likes to assess penalties when people miss due dates. The estate itself is also a taxpayer and required to file an income tax return. So that's separate from the decedent's return. It's the estate's return. So it's important that if the personal representative is not a trained income tax preparer, that he or she get help from an accountant or a bookkeeper type or a tax preparer, somebody. They shouldn't be doing it themselves. Now, hopefully, the decedent had their own accountant, and that makes it easier for the personal representative to go back to that same person who has all the records, but those returns need to be filed. So most personal representatives, I would say, need to touch base at least with an accountant.
Sure.
Now, an attorney is a different story. I like to tell people that Virginia has the most efficient and the cheapest probate system in the whole country. And we do. It's tremendously user-friendly. You don't need attorneys to go through probate in Virginia like you do in California or Florida, for example. Okay? And our office is very helpful to people as we've talked about. But sometimes there are legal issues, insolvent estates, interpretation of a will, difficulties with a beneficiary, where the personal representative should contact and employ an attorney for good legal advice. My office is very good at pointing out to personal representatives when we observe you probably have a need for an attorney.
So you're a good gatekeeper as far as when that situation might be arising.
I think we are, but I would say in the majority of cases, estates can be administered without employing attorneys.
Okay, very good. Now I would make a distinction that the tax preparer that might have been doing the 1040, the individual income tax return, may not be the same person that should do the fiduciary income tax return because they're very different tax returns. So I'd say be cautious about that.
Very good point.
Would you agree with that?
Very good point, yes.
Okay. Well, we've covered a lot of material, and I know there's probably many more things you could share with us. I wanted to give you an opportunity just to share some final thoughts about things that, from the perspective of the Commissioner of Accounts Office in Arlington, things you would want to share with us now.
Well, I want to continue to emphasize that my office, our view is that we're in this together with the personal representative. We want to help the personal representative properly and efficiently administer the estate. Okay, my staff is very experienced in administering estates. My staff knows what they're doing. We can be of great service to a personal representative. Keep a good relationship with my staff. Don't make them mad by not returning phone calls, not responding to letters. It's just human nature. When people are stonewalling you, you're less happy to help them out, So work with my staff. You can administer these estates. Yes, there's complexities to them, complexities to every estate, tax issues, sometimes interpretation issues, but let my staff guide you through those issues. As I said, when we find an issue that we think needs legal advice, then we'll certainly tell the personal representative to do that. But we feel like we're serving the public. We want to serve the public. We want to do the best job we can for the probate public, and I take great pride in the fact that I think my staff is outstanding in serving the probate public.
Well, that's great. I know it takes a lot of work to organize and make that all run smoothly, and certainly the leadership starts at the top. So,
well, thank you. I've been doing it a long time,
and it makes a big difference. Bill, I want to thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk with us for a few minutes about the Arlington County Commissioner of Accounts Office, and sharing just some great valuable information. And so, of course, this booklet that we're going to post up on our website is also a great resource for not just folks in Arlington County. It applies pretty much to any county in Virginia.
It does.
And again, of course, for your continued public service to the citizens of Arlington County. You're doing a wonderful job, and it's really a great resource for folks.
Oh, thank you, Richard. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. I want to remind our viewers that Mr. Murray prepared a very useful booklet of instructions for executors and administrators with checklists and answers to common probate questions that arise in Arlington County probates, and frankly, probates anywhere in Virginia. And this will be posted on the Probate Nation website. We encourage anyone who wants more information to take a look at that helpful instruction booklet. Without a doubt, probate can be complicated and confusing, but Commissioner Bill Murray and the entire staff at the Arlington County Commissioner of Accounts Office have done a wonderful job of explaining, teaching, and guiding those responsible for probating Arlington County estates as to what needs to be done, when, and by who. From inventory filings to accountings, from debt hearings to distributions to beneficiaries. Each and every topic and much more is laid out in simple, plain language in this instruction booklet. But most importantly, and this is what I take away from our conversation today with Commissioner Bill Murray, is that he and his staff take special pride and are committed to helping you sort through this challenging undertaking. If you have questions, give them a call, shoot them an email, or schedule a time for a face-to-face meeting at their office in the Arlington County Courthouse, and they will do their very best to guide you. They perform a great public service for the Arlington County community, and we are thankful for their commitment in doing so. This brings us to the conclusion of our show on the Arlington County Commissioner of Accounts. You got qualified in the Arlington County Probate Office, and you now understand the role of the Commissioner in your Arlington County probate journey, including what you need to file with them and how they can help you along the way. Future shows will delve into the details of probate administration. But in the meantime, take a moment to enjoy the view as your probate train picks up speed and continues on its journey through Arlington County. On behalf of myself and the Probate Nation, thank you for visiting with us. Welcome to the Probate Nation. My name is Richard Ruddy. I moderate a show called How to Probate an Estate. The purpose of the show is to educate laypersons who are probating Virginia estates. This is accomplished by interviewing local Virginia probate offices, Commissioner of Accounts, attorneys, CPAs, fiduciary bondsmen, and others involved in all aspects of probate. Please join us for our next show or view past shows on the Probate Nation website.